Dís mar go bhart mé sé bhí na hart le Grana Connections agus táid gobar ar an árán dar banim a Stór Mo Chroí le Seán na Chonaice as carna I gundí na Gaillimhe. Hello folks, this is Brian Hart with Grana Connections, and today we're working on the song Stór Mo Chroí that I learned from the singing of Seán na Chonaice from Carna in County Galway. The song was actually composed by a fellow named Brian O'Higgins, who was a founding member of the Sinn Féin party and a participant in the Easter Uprising 1916. As was typical with many of the contributors and organizers of the Easter Uprising, he was a poet, a scholar, a teacher, and he was originally from County Westmeath and was trained as a drapier and decided that that was not the life that he wanted, and he moved to Dublin, working in a bar, and there kind of started his journey being involved in politics, in the political movement of the time, which was a movement for independence. This song, as a representative of Brian's kind of contemporaries, what was happening in Ireland at the time, post-famine and pre-independence, was probably one of the most difficult points in Irish history, and that there was ongoing migration stemming from the trauma and the economic impact of the famine that happened, I think maybe 35 years before he was born, and that had gained traction over time to leave Ireland in kind of a very desperate situation, still struggling for independence, but having lost many Irish men and women to immigration. So the song is kind of steeped in this romanticization that has been a very strong and visceral presence in Irish American identity, and perhaps Jeanette can speak to Irish Canadian identity. This sense of romanticism and nostalgia is rooted in bringing our emotional baggage and trauma to the fore and placing it alongside more of the quantifiable data of history. And this has both positive and negative outcomes. A positive outcome is that folk memory survives much longer than, say, what happens in media and print media. But one of the negative fallouts from holding so closely to romanticism as we pair it with history is that it can often become hyperbolic to the truth of certain circumstances. And in many cases, as Irish Americans, we're more informed by this romanticism than we are in fact, and in analysis, and in contemporary history and revision that needs to be done often to complete a picture. So this song reaches in to this center of romanticism and nostalgia. And this song is presented as if it were a poem for what we call an American wake, which was when people were getting ready to leave to go to America. And the idea of a wake, I'm sure many of you are aware, is that it is a celebration of one's life after their passing. And the comparison between the American wake and the wake of a person who's passed is that both people will likely never be seen again by their community. And so the presentation of this song is very much kind of in line with the idea that this person is leaving and will not return. And so the lyrics kind of present a little bit of resourcing in asking the individual who's leaving to remember Ireland, right? And to remember the people that individual is leaving behind, and to remember those people when in this strange new land they're faced with some of the same situations that they were fleeing back in Ireland. A Stór Mo Chroí is Irish for treasure of my heart, or treasure my heart. These are both terms of endearment used quite often and regularly within the Irish language. And then there's one little aspect, another aspect of Irish language in here, which is arún, maroon. Rún is secret. It's another term that's used as a term of endearment for someone, so for a loved one. So this song, when I learned it from Sean Achanacha, was very much kind of in a keening manner. Not in that there was a repetition of vocables that are really common among keening, and for those who aren't maybe fully aware, keening is a very old practice in the Gaelic tradition of eulogizing the life of the person who's passed, generally in front of the individual's corpse and to an audience. And what that allowed the individual, the singer, who tended to be a young woman, was that it allowed a focal point of grieving during an otherwise festive process. Wake games, wake parties, even the collection of funds to support a wake were very important, and are still very important in some parts of Ireland, in properly sending a person off to the hereafter. The aspect of this song that makes it like a keen is the droning, or the nya, that's created throughout. And this is a very different feeling from our previous songs, which were quite melodic and moved rather succinctly and quickly through. This one has very long phrases, which you will find difficult to finish with one breath. And it maintains this kind of open nasal quality at the end of each line that ties into the next line, and so creates what, if you're familiar with traditional music, like the drone of an elbow pipe or uilleann pipe. Also, there's intervallic movement up and down through the song rather than big jumps. But there are some big jumps, right? But it just feels like a very different song. It feels very foreign in comparison to the previous ones that we've worked with. But this is also a weaving of emotion into the lyrics. And I've sang this song at 2 wakes, and there's been a sense that I was not in control of what was going on, and that there was something moving through me and was being fed between me and the other people that were there at these wakes. So it's a very powerful song, and I hope you felt that in the original singing of it. So, while the song pulls at all the emotional centers of an immigrant to North America from Ireland, talking about the people that have been left behind, the love that was never olden, the mountains and the meadows and the mist that falls in the evenings, and the voice that is calling to return, the likelihood of this person ever returning was slim to none. Not only was it difficult physically to make the travels pre-air flight, but it was always very difficult financially to pay for those kind of fares. And what often happened is when Irish people came to North America, they sent money back to their home place, and often that money was used to purchase tickets for their siblings. And the parents would be the last to come over if the parents survived. So this is very, very emotional song to be singing, but it is one that is tied up in grieving and this nostalgia that is also this kind of love of place that is maybe idealized but not quite reality.